What if you woke up tomorrow and World War III had already begun? No warning, no time to prepare. Your phone explodes with emergency alerts. Stock markets crash within minutes. Airports shut down. Military forces move across continents. Governments activate emergency plans. And billions of people suddenly realize that the world they knew yesterday is gone. For decades, World War III has been one of humanity's greatest fears. But unlike the wars of the past, the next global conflict would be fought not only with tanks and missiles. It would begin in cyberspace, in financial markets, in satellites orbiting above Earth, and within hours, it could affect every country on the planet. So, what would actually happen if World War III started tomorrow? How would the first 24 hours unfold? Who would be involved? And could civilization survive the consequences? Let's find out. Every world war begins with a trigger, a single event capable of pushing nations beyond diplomacy. Perhaps a military confrontation in the Taiwan Strait, a direct clash between NATO and Russia, a conflict in the South China Sea, or even a cyber attack severe enough to cripple an entire country's infrastructure. At first, many people might believe the crisis can be contained. Politicians would call for calm. Markets would hope for a quick resolution. But behind the scenes, military commands across the world would already be preparing for something much larger. Troops would be mobilized. Warships would leave their ports. Fighter aircraft would move to combat positions. Missile systems would be placed on high alert. The world would enter the most dangerous period since the Cold War, and nobody would know whether the situation could still be stopped. The first day would be chaos. Before major battles even begin, cyber warfare would strike. Power grids could fail. Banking systems might freeze. Communication networks could become unreliable. Millions of people would rush to withdraw cash. Supermarkets would fill with panic buyers. Fuel stations could run out of supplies within hours. Meanwhile, governments would attempt to secure critical infrastructure. Military bases would activate emergency procedures. Air defense systems would track potential threats around the clock. And intelligence agencies would work desperately to determine what comes next. The greatest danger during these first hours would be uncertainty. Because when nations fear an attack is coming, they may decide to strike first. Unlike previous world wars, World War III would not be limited to one continent. The conflict would stretch across the globe: Europe, Asia, the Middle East, the Arctic, the Pacific Ocean, even outer space. Satellites would become strategic targets. Destroying communication satellites could blind entire military networks. Naval fleets would compete for control of critical sea routes. Air forces would fight for dominance of the skies, and advanced drones would operate continuously across battle zones. Artificial intelligence could play a major role in military decision-making. Autonomous systems might identify targets faster than humans can react. The battlefield of the future would be more technologically advanced than anything humanity has ever experienced, and far more dangerous. Even countries far from the fighting would feel the impact. Global trade would slow dramatically. Supply chains could collapse. Oil and gas prices might surge to record levels. Stock markets around the world would experience historic losses. Factories would struggle to obtain materials. Food prices would rise. Inflation could spiral out of control. Many businesses would be forced to close. Millions of jobs could disappear. The global economy is deeply interconnected. And in a world war, those connections quickly become vulnerabilities. For ordinary families, the crisis would no longer be something happening overseas. It would be visible in every grocery store, every fuel station, every monthly bill. Perhaps the most terrifying aspect of World War III would be the nuclear threat. Today, several countries possess thousands of nuclear weapons. Most military strategists believe that nuclear deterrence helps prevent large-scale wars. But during a global conflict, mistakes become more likely. False alarms, communication failures, misunderstood military movements. A single miscalculation could have catastrophic consequences. Even a limited nuclear exchange would reshape the world forever. Entire cities could disappear. Global trade would collapse. Environmental damage could affect millions of people far from the actual targets. This is why many experts believe that avoiding escalation would become the most important objective of every major power. For ordinary people, life would change dramatically. Governments could introduce emergency measures, travel restrictions, resource controls, military mobilization. Certain industries might shift entirely toward wartime production. Information would become another battlefield. Social media would be flooded with propaganda, misinformation, and psychological warfare. People would struggle to determine what is true and what is not. Fear and uncertainty would become part of daily life, and millions would face difficult decisions about safety, work, family, and the future. The psychological impact alone could last for generations. World War III would likely be the most destructive conflict in human history. But it is important to remember one thing. The future is not predetermined. History is shaped by decisions, by diplomacy, by leadership, and by the willingness of nations to avoid repeating the mistakes of the past. The world today faces serious tensions, but it also possesses something previous generations often lacked: a clear understanding of how devastating a global war could be. Perhaps that understanding is exactly what prevents World War III from ever happening. But if it did start tomorrow, the world would change forever. And the question is not who would win. The question is how much humanity would lose.